Okay, it looks like we're recording. So I see that we've got Bob Buffon, Robert Burke is with us. I do not see Dan Cody. Oh, I see Dan just joined us.
Hello, Sean.
I'll mark him here. And Susan West is here. Don is here. Bob Lyons is in. Terry Schuffner's in. Susan, me, and I see also Dave Sarbacher is with us. So that's everybody.
Okay, well, the first thing on the agenda is approval of the 4/27 meeting
Okay.
minutes.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Second.
And that was Carrie and Susan for a minute?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I'll say my name in the future. It's helpful.
And Susan had the second, so all in,
Yes.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Capitol View Road Bridge repairs. We had that on the agenda earlier meetings, and we sent it back to include some options, and they have options. They got an option A, B, and C. Maybe Sean can go over that.
Right, we could hop down to the attachments, might make it a little bit easier to understand everything. And I'll skip the words for now. So in terms of pictures, oops, let me zoom in a bit. Okay, is that coming through for folks?
Yes.
With alternate A at least showing up?
Yes.
So alternate A
Yes.
is by far the easiest of these alternates to kind of keep using the bridge that we've already got. And that is essentially to put some reinforcement onto the parts of the steel piles under the bridge that are badly corroded, some nearly corroded off. But effectively just to kind of marry together what's already there. And they think they can get about 15 years of expected life out of that at a cost of, my recollection is about $32,000. So that's alternate A in a nutshell. Alternate B sort of carries that same concept forward, but also adds some riprap into the middle of the flow part of the ditch, and does some replacement of upper abutment boards, and then also has an alternate to encase in concrete or provide some zinc anodes instead of encasement in concrete. And that has a pretty significant upcharge to it, nearly double the price, I would say.
The diodes, you mean?
Well, either the diode, zinc anodes, sorry, or the concrete encasement. So alternate B and alternate D are pretty similar scopes of work. One has the concrete as shown. Later, they came up with an alternate D that said, you know, instead of concrete, let's put in some anodes to protect the steel. And they called that alternate D. But I think the cost of B was about twice as much as alternate A to do some of this extra work. So
62,000.
I'm sorry, what is the
The
question?
table shows B at 62,000 and A at 32,000.
Yeah, so nearly double the price, not quite, but in that ballpark. And we get about another 5 years of life out of it. Now it adds some riprap, it would add some concrete or anodes, and it would add some extra replacements of timber abutment boards behind the piles. So it is a different scope of work to some degree. It's preventing some erosion and not just dealing with structural improvements. But maybe that's why the lifespan is really a pretty nominal improvement, I would say, from 15 years to estimated at 20 years of extra life. So does that make sense? It's about double the price. and about an extra 25% of life out of it. And alternate C is really replacement of the bridge with a brand new bridge. So it takes care of the problem and then some, so it has an expected life of about 75 years. But it also by far has the highest cost.
Sean, as I recall, they had that cost analysis, and that was still the most expensive per year, right, or not?
Did you say per year?
Yeah, I thought they had an annual cost or something, annualized.
They had it in a present value of the
Okay, yeah.
improvements.
Okay,
Yeah.
And they were saying that there's going to be a replacement to this bridge potentially in the future as the area grows.
Well, that's
Yeah, this is Robert. Not just replacement of the bridge, but possibly replacement of the road, needing a wider road, which means that I would just state for the record that it's not worth building a brand new bridge here if the conditions around there are going to change possibly in the future. So I'm definitely leaning toward, personally, I'm leaning toward alternate A, which is the least expensive, which gives you the most bang for your buck without putting in a bridge that right now we don't know what the surrounding areas might need anyway in 10 years.
Can I look back at the option A picture?
sure.
So I'm thinking there that the steel below ground is probably okay. Is that would that be a good assumption? And
In
it's
general, it does seem a little bit elevated from the existing soil elevation, that it's sort of rotted off. So it's really evident where the rust is, but they are going to go down a couple of feet just to make sure.
So they're probably going to get into good steel when they go down. And that if that steel is good at that point, it's going to be good for a long time. And it's, I think above grade, we probably have the salt attacking it.
And maybe some, manure runoff. It's all farmed out there.
So why? I'm trying to understand why the repair is from the ground level up a couple feet, and not all. What's going on above that? Is the corrosion attack is not affecting the upper part of that beam?
That's right. Yeah, it's relatively isolated in terms of the length of corrosion. Really bad corrosion to near the ground line.
Then I support the option A.
yeah, Dan, this is Bob Pofall. I stopped out there, and there's a couple feet that, like Sean said, had just kind of gone right above the water level or above the soil level.
Yeah. So maybe that stays damper by the soil and doesn't get rinsed as well or something in the.
It probably gets wet more frequently because in the low flow events, it's going to be pretty small elevation.
Yeah, and there'll be spatter from the rain and everything closer to the ground. You get a constant dose of dirt on it and things like that. Okay. So if we're getting into good material below grade, and we're bringing it up to a point where we think the material is still pretty intact, the repair should be good. How long did the bridge last in its current form?
Oh boy, I forgot when that was originally built. I don't remember. This is Bob again. My looking at it, the top part of the bridge looks like a new bridge. So my gut feeling is they sometime put a new bridge on it. And then it looks like it had, maybe some kind of wood posts in there at one time, because there was another row of posts in the middle that were gone. So sometime they replaced it with this sheet piling. That I don't know either. Yeah, the town's been the maintaining authority for a very long time. We only got into it very recently when we annexed that half of the road.
Well, to move things along here, I will move that we recommend to the Finance Committee and the council repairing the bridge per alternative A, the cost of approximately $16,000 to be shared with the town of Middleton.
I'll second that.
This is Robert. The one caveat is I think it's
$32,000.
$32,000, 16,000 of which would be the city's portion.
Right, yep.
What did I say, 32,000?
You
No,
said 16,000,
16, yeah.
half of which to be shared
Oh,
with somebody
okay.
else.
I meant that was our half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as we're all clear, I would second that motion if it hasn't already been seconded.
I did write Dan in
Oh,
for
well
a
then
second on that.
Dan
Yeah,
got the
yeah, I
Dan
did.
got the honors. Excellent.
Yeah.
Is
And
there
I
any
wrote down,
discussion?
I
Is
wrote
there any
down,
more
Bob-
Go ahead,
excuse-
Sean.
just a second, sorry. I just want to confirm, I wrote down Bob Lyons as being the maker of that motion.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. Middleton Ridge at Misty Valley, sidewalk extension to Greenbrier Road. Maybe Sean can go over that one. I didn't get that one looked at.
yeah, and again, I'll scroll down here for a bit and just get to a picture.
This is my neighborhood, so I have a
Oh.
question on it. Wait, after you explain it, I want to ask a question.
Sure, perfect. So north of Misty Valley, where Greenbrier Road runs east-west, which would be at the top part of the diagram that's on the screen, there's basically just grass from about the edge of plat line up to the pavement edge. And along this common lot line between lots 216 and 217, there's an easement in which we have both a storm sewer pipe and a sidewalk. But the sidewalk terminates at the plat line. It was intended during initial planning of this subdivision that Misty Valley Drive would come through the subdivision and have an intersection with Greenbrier Road, and that it would have a sidewalk, and parts of Greenbrier Road would be reconstructed with profile improvements for sight distance, and the sidewalk might make more sense. We did stub a sidewalk out, or have the developer stub a sidewalk out for future connection. But a couple of the residents with the homeowners association noted in particular that getting bicycles from Greenbrier Road to the sidewalk and vice versa can be a little bit dicey with grass there, and asked if we would consider extending this dead-end stub of sidewalk up to the pavement edge. And I took a look at that. There are some sight distance issues that cause me a little bit of pause, but there are also some ADA issues that cause me more than a little bit of pause, that normally we want to get pedestrians to and from a pedestrian facility, not just direct them into a street and see what happens. So I was hesitant to endorse the recommendation, but I think there would be an opportunity to improve bicycling traction and safety for it, just by putting crushed limestone in as a connection from the pavement edge to the sidewalk, which wouldn't really then be or give the tactile feel of a sidewalk, but it still wouldn't be wet, slippery grass either. So that's what I was willing to recommend. The committee may have a different preference, but that's where I landed.
Yeah, my thoughts are there's another sidewalk further to the east, right at the intersection of High Road and Greenbrier, and it has kind of the same thing. It's a sidewalk that goes along High Road, and then it terminates at the at the plat line of the subdivision, and it doesn't connect to Greenbrier. So if we do something in one place, a similar situation. And the other thing I have is that I share the concern about the a sidewalk, leading people into the road. The other thing I was wondering is I don't know if this is on the top of the crest of the hill, so there might be some washout of gravel. As I can't remember exactly. It's near the top, very near the top of the hill. I just don't know if it's at the top or not.
Yeah, it's not too far from the crest, so it's at least at a spot where there's a pretty limited drainage area trying to drain through here.
I agree with that. You'd have to have a heck of a rain to, I think, to wash something out. But
Right.
if you looked at maybe if we just took a look at a city map or an aerial view or something, we could look at the other one just to see what we think of that.
And it might have a more defined ditch. That's one of the things I'd want to look at that we probably couldn't see from an aerial or even from a street view.
Yeah.
itself. But I would tend to agree if it's of limited drainage area that we don't have to maintain a ditch through there, then we could extend some gravel through there too.
Sean, this is Bob. That Greenbrier, is any of that in the city, or do we own half, south half?
Half of that right of way was annexed into the city, just the half adjacent to the plat line.
Okay.
So that's why there's this 33 written off to the side. That's just the south half of the right of way.
Okay, well, any more discussion, or can we get a motion?
This is Robert. Quick question. What is the Wending dashed line there? Is that sewer or something?
The one that looks magenta?
No, the dashed line.
The phantom line type.
This is a proposed contour. I just.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to know if that was something. I don't think that helps me, but it's good to at least know what it is. And my other question is, yeah, if people did get just dumped out into the street there, where are they going? What I don't know is I'm gonna just guess that it's north of that sidewalk. There looks like there's two driveway-like things in the town of Springfield, and if you go to page 5 of 6, which is you're on page 3 of 6, okay. There's an aerial picture. Do we know like where a bicyclist would want to be going?
Well, they're going there's a lot of bicyclists that ride down Greenbrier Road. It's not what I would consider very safe.
Okay.
But they,
Oh, Dan, I think you just cut out. Sorry.
Yeah, could you repeat that?
Well, I could say it's similar to both High Road, Pheasant Branch Road. Bicyclists ride on it. There's no right-of-way edging on the side of the road, but they do it a lot, even if it's not safe.
Sure. And then my next question was, how else can they get into this little subdivision in the city of Middleton without using the sidewalk stub?
From Greenbrier, there is no other way. You're going over private property.
Right.
Oh, okay. So this little area is not connectable really to that road.
And I also wonder if the immediate neighbors have weighed in on this too.
That I don't know. I only heard from 2 people who I think represented themselves as being homeowner association spokespeople. And at least one of them is interested.
The immediate neighbors need to weigh in.
I think so, yeah, because this encourages more traffic past their homes. I don't know if that's something we can.
But isn't there already that path? So, I mean, they're likely already getting. So is that just that path there? That's sidewalk, right? And so was the intention to have that was an outlet for the neighborhood to get to walk on the street, or what was the intention there?
It was intended to connect to future sidewalk that would parallel Greenbrier Road when it gets rebuilt.
So
Okay.
it's already set up for traffic then.
Right. So I don't know if really weighing with the neighbors, I mean, I don't know if that's necessary because it's already set up that way.
It's intended for public use.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if the school bus picks up here. That might be one good use for it.
Oh, I don't know. And they tend to change quite a lot,
Yeah.
it seems, locations.
The school bus could probably pick up and drop off here because it picks up for across the street as well. The town of Spring, or is that Spring? Yeah, it's town of Springfield.
Yeah.
The school bus stops on this hill, but I don't know if it's stopping at this particular spot.
It'd be a pretty good spot for that, at least. It's reasonably good sight distance here. Further west is even better.
Yeah, I can kind of see the dilemma here because if we extend any kind of path to the street, it is saying use this, right? Even if it's not quite ready to be used in terms of, you know, connecting to a sidewalk. So I don't know, I'm a little hesitant. I'm thinking it might be better to wait until there's actual sidewalk or, you know, other means for people to travel safely up and down that road.
That was part of my initial concern is you know, sidewalk or asphalt path might be telling a kid on a tricycle, this is a great place to go ride.
Right.
But it's not.
Yeah, this is Robert. I tend to agree with Carrie that I think somebody else, somebody who really wants this to happen, needs to make a strong argument for why it should be done, because right now I'm not convinced that it's a safe or a good idea to extend, even with a gravel path. I don't know if it's safe or a good idea to extend that sidewalk stub onto a road with no sidewalks and with no real place to go other than the street itself, which does not have great sight lines.
And no
Right.
shoulders.
The traffic on that road is considerable.
Yeah.
Very a lot of traffic in the morning. There's cars that are back to back going through there.
Well, and if you're on a bike, you could continue down to High Road and then get into the neighborhood, right? This is just kind of a shortcut.
Yes.
Well, no. Well, yes. If you were on a bike,
Yes.
you could go down and do that.
Yeah.
This
How
is
steep-
Bob Lyons. Is that, Sean, is that section now between the end of the sidewalk and the pavement, is that mowed? Or is that just allowed to grow up into weeds? I mean, I don't know how that could be a school bus stop unless it's at least mowed. I don't know how you plow through there in September.
There's a footpath there that's worn a little bit,
Okay.
worn in
How
from
s-
just.
How steep is that footpath?
It's reasonably level. There's a little bit of a ditch. It's not really a ditch. It's just a slight, lowering of the area.
Yeah, I think it's really easily traversable. It's walkable, it's
Yeah.
bikeable.
So bikes just need to slow down and then they won't have as much trouble.
That's a different way to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think what this is it's something a road biker might use, and he's at the end of his ride, or he's starting his ride out. He's just looking for a shorter way to get onto Greenbrier.
Yeah, and I can appreciate their desire to get off of Greenbrier sort of as soon as they can, or minimize the time on Greenbrier. That's a pretty quick road as drivers are using it, and very narrow.
And they made no mention in the request about, the students or people going in the school bus or anything like that.
No.
It seemed really bicycle safety related, that they had known of some wipeouts where they had clearly lost traction and just fell over.
Okay. Then the gravel wouldn't necessarily, because you'll be turning in gravel, and that would be not necessarily the best.
It would have to be, well-graded, compacted gravel, kind of
Yeah.
driveway gravel.
Yeah, I just looked it up on Google and I can see it isn't a very steep slope like you were saying, just from the street eye
So
level.
this is done. If we put that in, who's going to maintain it and shovel it in the winter?
We would have to maintain it from an erosion, rilling perspective, but the snow removal is done by the association.
Do you have that in writing?
I don't, but I don't do that either.
I mean, once you put it in, if it's not in writing now, sure as heck they're going to call and say, well, aren't you going to shovel this?
Well, who maintains the rest of the sidewalk? This is Bob Lyons. The homeowners association must maintain that, don't they?
Well, the individual property owners maintain the sidewalks adjacent to their homes. I don't know if this is one that homeowner we see there in the picture has to maintain, or if that's somehow part of the association. I couldn't tell you that.
But it's not the city.
No, our association plows the alley and cleans up some of the sidewalks, but I don't know about this one in particular.
This is Bob Lyons again. Was their request for the city to put this in, or I thought I read somewhere in some of those emails that they were just seeking approval to do it, and the homeowners association was going to stand the cost of whatever extension of that sidewalk was to happen.
They had proposed to pay the costs and future maintenance for accessible repairs as a homeowner association for a sidewalk.
Yeah.
A gravel path's a pretty different thing. We don't normally have an accessible policy for that, but I wasn't willing to recommend a sidewalk.
Can we visit one more view? Can you bring up an aerial view of just the area to the
Sure. If you hold on
the intersection, basically the intersection of High Road. Yeah.
Sure. I'll have to launch my Google and then share that.
Yeah.
So it might just take me a little bit.
I'm looking for the intersection of High Road and Greenbrier.
Sure.
Well, that'd be down there quite a ways, I think.
It's
It's not,
200 yards from it or so.
I mean, from a bicycle perspective, it's not that far. Like Sean, like you were saying, I can understand like the desire to have that shortcut. But I don't know. I still think that we should wait until that road is redeveloped and there can be a proper sidewalk and bicycle lanes or whatever else might be there.
Carrie, this is Bob, and I know when that was all put in, and I kind of vaguely remember some of that discussion, but there's really no interest in the town doing their half, and without the town doing their half, there's not much purpose for the city to do their half then.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it, because as you go back farther to the west, that's town also.
Yeah, this road is not designed for the duty cycle it gets as far as traffic. At some point there's going to be a larger road somewhere that's going to have to take this road.
Well, the Bellefontaine would come through there, isn't that Bellefontaine?
That
No,
was one option until the county bought the Acker farm.
but Bellefontaine is platted south of here.
Yeah, but it would take the traffic load that's on
Yeah,
this
right.
road. But I think that is being considered differently now that the town of, the county of Dane bought Acker farm. So
Yeah, the county bought that.
this kind of shows it, but it's exactly the same situation. You see the sidewalk in the view there. It
Well,
does not.
actually, that's just some disturbed earth. This
Well,
is pre-development.
Yeah,
photo.
but it is sidewalk today.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It doesn't go to the road. It
Right.
stops short. It ends right at the plat line.
Yep.
So this subdivision has two sidewalks that approach Greenbrier Road. That's the point. I just wanted everyone to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have enough of a ditch here to, that people just shouldn't or wouldn't want to walk through it. I just don't
Well,
know that
I think-
offhand.
I think there you do have a lot of watershed that it does have some flows at times. They've even done some culvert improvements along this road here.
I can believe it, yeah.
So yeah, my point was, I just wanted everyone to see that there's a second sidewalk that's basically in the same type of
Yeah, that comes up
situation.
along the west side of High Road and then stops at the flat line base.
Yeah,
Is just, not that this is what we're talking about tonight, but is this sidewalk in the city of Middleton, or is this owned by?
it's in the city.
It is.
City.
Yeah, the city annexed this whole little isolated section of land.
Got it.
And the city has half of High Road.
I think so. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
sure.
do.
Yeah, they do.
We do,
Okay.
yeah.
This is Bob. I guess I'm hearing we're talking about pretty specifically for biking, and if it's a bike ped issue, maybe it should be referred to them for one thing. If I would think they would say, yeah, it's not a bike ped pass. So.
I kind of like that idea.
Part of my concern is if they have a split recommendation, then I guess it'll go to the council at that point. But,
Yeah.
I
My
don't want someone minimizing the sight distance restrictions and or the potential to direct pedestrians into the street without a receiving facility.
I agree with Sean on that. I'm not convinced Bike Ped will look at it from those two issues. They'll focus more on the bicycle issue.
Well, either way, this is Robert. I'm willing to make my vote on this topic for Public Works.
Okay, let's come up with a motion. I think we kind of know what we want to do, I think, here.
Well, this is Robert again. Then I would make a motion to recommend against this sidewalk extension to Greenbrier Road.
We want to give them an option to provide more information or argument?
They
or-
always can.
always
I
can.
mean,
Okay.
sure, we can say, but yeah, I mean, my motion, I guess, is to
Just tonight, yeah.
argue or recommend against.
Mm-hmm.
Could we
No.
add that it's
I'll-
for site pedestrian and ADA issues, concerns? Yes.
Then yeah, I would take that as a friendly amendment to my motion.
So this is Bob Lyons. So to be clear, we're recommending not only against the sidewalk extension, but against extending the path in terms of crushed gravel or whatever as well. Just not doing anything to extend that sidewalk.
That would be my recommendation. Thank you.
We were never asked about the gravel though, were we?
Well, I had recommended that
That
as
was Sean's recommendation.
something of a compromise. So yes, we were asked about that.
Okay.
This is Carrie Scheffner. I'll second that motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
Let me just clarify, when you say recommend against, we're not recommending it to anybody. We're not supporting.
Okay, I'll take that as a friendly amendment also, that it is not supporting any extension of the sidewalk to Greenbrier Road.
Okay, and I'll phrase it, or path.
And add in the reasoning just at the very end that Susan had recommended, to say for ADA and
Sight
other
distance.
sight distance concerns.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll give that a shot. You'll find out tomorrow morning what you said.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'll just say that I'm happy with what you guys have come up with here, but I'm going to abstain from the vote because I'm looking out my window at my neighbors right now.
I think that's fair.
Fair enough.
That's wise.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Unanimous
So
with-
abstain one.
With one abstention.
with one abstention. Okay, the consumer confidence report, and I assume that's why Dave is there.
Yeah, let me get back to the agenda here. Ooh, bigger than I needed it to be. So we've got our annual consumer confidence report ready to go to distribution for our next agenda item. So Dave has prepared this again. And of course, its distribution is required by July 1st. So we typically put it into the next billing that'll go out from water utility billing, and then also posted on our website.
Okay, I have one or two comments on it, Sean. I'm concerned, can you scroll up to where the table is?
Which table?
The one with all the limits and whether we met them or whether we exceeded them or not. Yes,
Sure.
here.
Okay.
Okay. My concerns.
And I'm sorry, Susan, to interrupt, but Dave Sarbacher, our utility manager, is in attendance with us, so he'll be able to address questions.
Right. My concern is it states in there that we don't show all the things that were tested for. And I think we should at least list them. Depending on the knowledge of the person, they're going to want to know some of these things. And I'm thinking of this in terms of, especially right now, we've got the PFAS issue out at Dane County Airport. People here want to know if our water has been tested for that. It is showing up in some wells on the west side of Madison. So
What was
there is the PFAS.
PFAS, okay.
But I think we should list all the things that we test for, just so that you get a good feel for how strenuous this is. And then I've got a real concern is almost everything that's shown, the last sample date was 2017. That was 3 years ago. That's not real reassuring. So if we were testing for things and they're coming out at very acceptable levels, and we're just not showing that, we need to let the citizens know it's been tested.
Yeah, I don't know if Dave is connected or muted, but I do know that the sampling dates are prescribed for us. So when we've got certain elements at certain cycles, some of our tests are a couple years old, and that has routinely and historically been so.
Yeah, I just find it disturbing that, where is lead?
I saw lead. Looked like there was one high hit on lead or something, but.
Yeah, but the last time it was tested was in 2017. That's a concern to me as a citizen. Now, I know most of that lead is probably coming from the people's own pipes within their houses.
Sean,
Do we sample at people's homes?
Sean, did you see that Dave wanted to be unmuted?
Oh, I didn't see that. Let me pull up that screen. Dave?
Hello.
Ah, you're on.
Can you hear me now?
Okay,
I'm here.
We can hear you now.
Good.
So there was a concern, Dave, I don't know if you heard, but specifically about lead, and I've highlighted it if you can see it on your screen, as to the testing date in 2017.
Yep, we'll be doing a round of tests this year.
Okay.
Okay, so it's only done like every 3 years?
Correct.
Well, this is Bob Lyons. I have a question, and if that's the case, is this report then exactly the same, since the testing dates are back in 2017, as the report that was distributed last year? With the same results from the same dates. So this is the same report as went out last year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Dave, are there things that you test every year?
Most of the ones we test every year show up on this. if there is a detectable level.
That's my point. I think we need to let citizens know that our water is not detecting these contaminants. So by not having them listed on this list, we don't know that.
That would be about a 10-page report.
We need some way to get that information to them.
Could we reference them to the webpage or something?
At least to list what the things are that are tested. That shouldn't take 10 pages. But just say, these things were tested and were below the detectable level.
Okay. I think that you had taken a look at those, Susan. I had given you all those reports,
Yeah,
and it was
I've looked at them
the
before.
file.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
This is
can
me
make
being the
them
water
available on
chemist.
request.
Pardon?
I said I can make that available if anybody would like to see it. I can email it to them, or make it available that way.
I think it would just be more reassuring to let them know we're really testing a lot. So one thing that's not
Okay.
on here is mercury. And I assume you do test for mercury.
The reason it's probably not on here was because it was a no detect.
Right, but that's an important environmental toxin. So if you could just list the things that we test for that didn't come up in the wordage, not in the table, but in the where you're describing things.
Yeah.
It would be helpful to me to know that no mercury was found in the water. I don't extract that from the report.
Well,
yeah,
it would
I
be that
don't
it
either,
wasn't
just
found
looking at it.
below.
The other question I have is on the radon. Radium.
Okay.
It says there's a control limit of 5, and we have levels found at 4.6 back in 2017. So has that been tested since 2017? Seems like we were close to the control limit at one time.
I believe that's part of the samples that we just took this year. Another one that's done every 3 years or so.
Dan, this is Bob, and I think I commented on radium last year, and they lowered the standards substantially is what happened.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of excitement about radium, I think, because of the basements and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Here it turns out it's probably in all of the wells as well.
One's radon,
Well, there was
radium.
that the 4.6 means at least one of the wells tested at 4.6. The other ones were below that, and the lowest was 1.0.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I do like Susan's idea, though, of having some kind of text, like you were saying, Susan, of like, here's all the things we test for. Good
Right.
news, none of this showed up. Like, I think that would.
That's what we need.
Yeah, it would really help to just. I guess it would just show how thorough the city is, and you'd get recognized for all the work that we're doing with testing. And like it's good news that mercury hasn't showed up. It's not detectable.
Right.
That would be reassuring.
And we're getting a more sophisticated citizenry that understands, or at least knows a little bit about these particular contaminants. So anything that we can reassure them will diminish problems in the future in terms of citizen outrage.
And just to be clear, we're suggesting posting that on the website? Maybe
No, putting it in
just-
this
no,
report.
I think it's just a sentence or two describing the intensity of the testing and the elements tested for where there's no finding.
Oh, and how many extra components do you think that is in that list?
Is that for me?
Yeah, Dave, do you know about how many that is as a list goes?
60 or 70.
But this is Bob Lyons. Couldn't that be done by just having an appendix to this report that said, in addition, the following elements were tested for and no detectable levels were found, and then just list them all alphabetically. I mean, that's not going to take any more than a page.
I
Wouldn't
would
even
agree.
take
It sounds
that
like we
much.
could fit that on a page as an appendix.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Well, like I said, that we're down to a half a page right now with a two-sided 4-page report. As far as mailing, it would increase our mailing costs. As you can see on page 2, if you want to scroll up a little bit, Sean.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Your water is tested for many contaminants last year. Following table lists only those contaminants which were detected. If you want to put in a note there, if you would like to see all contaminants that were sampled for, you can request it, or I can see if I can squeeze it in on what we've got left in here.
But
Dave,
Sean,
if we're not going to list them, at least put how many were tested for. Many could be 5, or it could be 60.
Okay.
There's a big difference there.
Yeah, and I would support, you know, some magnitude of the number tested with the reference to a report that could be requested.
Or, well,
Okay.
the report should be online.
Sure.
I think Susan just said what Sean was saying. Maybe we could refer them to someplace online where they could find that. And maybe one out of 100 will look.
Yeah.
That's
I
fine.
think another issue here is that, you know, we don't make things up to test, that it's all a requirement of the Wisconsin DNR.
That's true.
And therefore, if this paragraph that's highlighted now just made the statement that in addition to this, over 60 elements to be in compliance with all Wisconsin DNR requirements were tested, all of which were non-detectable. And then I would go right along with, you know, list the email of the water department. If they want to list, email it to them rather than go through the process of publishing it. Because sure as heck, somebody's going to find something in there like and say, hey, well, what are the levels of mercury?
Well, if you can put the whole report, like I saw a link to it online, that would be good.
Well, then it's online, and that's fine. Give them the website where they can see the
Yeah,
information.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Fine.
Okay, that sounds doable, that we could put a number and a DNR reference and a link to that external page that
Right.
could be on the website.
Go with that.
Yeah.
So this is Robert. Just a quick question about the highlighted paragraph. The very first sentence is your water was tested for many contaminants last year. Is that a correct statement? If most of the testing that at least is shown is 2017? Or does
Yeah,
that,
It's just,
do we need to change that to say within the last 3 years?
It sounds like there's more data coming soon. Is that true?
not for this report, no. That's all tests that were done in 2019. Next year, we'll have a lot of those numbers will go away.
Mhm.
Like the ones that are from 2017, we're doing those this year. So that sample data, it will say if it's prior to 2020, and that box will be empty next year with new test results from 2020.
Okay, well, why don't we say your water was tested for many contaminants within the past 3 years?
Why
And
don't
that
you
will just
That's
always
in-
cover it.
That's in there too. It says
in that
detected within the
statement.
last 5 years.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe
Okay, for that particular sentence.
maybe we
You
have
said
to
last
just,
year.
maybe we just have to strike the 2 words last year, because to me
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
this inaccurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or, right.
If the opening statement of that paragraph is your water was tested for many contaminants, period, and then you
That would be
go
fine.
on with the rest of it, then you're not misleading anyone anyway.
Sure. Okay. I think that sounds easy enough. We'll strike that. And, just for my own notes here, quick, I want to make sure, yeah, we're still on page 2. All right.
Does the second sentence make sense then? Because it says we're allowed to monitor for some contaminants less frequently than once a year.
Less frequently than.
To me, it still reads okay if you say,
That reads okay if you,
yeah, if your water was tested for many contaminants, we are allowed to monitor for some contaminants less frequency than once a year. The following tables, blah, blah, blah. I think that's okay.
I agree.
Okay, do we have
Take those two
consensus on
words
that?
out. Okay.
Well, I guess I'll make the motion here. We're kind of all waiting. Make the motion to remove the 2 words last year and to add the transparency statements that we all discussed that I think are very, very good for the report to be transparent. And that's, you make a reference to the DNR and the, what were the other things we had there?
The overall number of
Yeah, the overall number of.
chemicals and
With-
products tested.
Mhm.
Yeah, the website with our actual.
And
list.
then the transparency part is the website is available.
Okay.
So this is
If-
Bob Lyons.
okay.
Just to be clear then, Dan, your motion would be to approve the report for distribution with those edits.
Yes.
Okay.
I will second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Unanimous? Okay. Now, I don't know if my agenda here is, I got it all or not, but that was the last item I have on my sheet.
We also have a resolution for, and this would be a referral to the council then, as all resolutions are, to accept the sanitary sewer compliance maintenance annual report. And that's a standard 10-page form that the DNR has created. So Dave fills that out every year, and then we adopt it every year.
This is Bob Lyons. I have what may be a silly question, but Dave, could you tell me what is WPDES?
That is the Wisconsin Pollution Discharge Elimination System, I want to say.
Should have been perfectly clear to me, but it wasn't. Okay, thank you.
Maybe that should be written out.
Well, I'll bet you nobody on the council knows what it is either, but
Well, hopefully Robert and I
know.
do now.
no, I think it would be worthwhile to modify the resolution to write that out and then just put it in parentheses, and then you can use the initials thereafter, but write it out at least once so it says what that is.
Correct.
Easy enough. Okay.
It may be written out in the report. I'm not sure. It may have that.
Okay, I looked through it and I couldn't find it, but
Okay.
I may not have looked through it carefully enough, but I didn't find it, so that's
But
why I.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it'll be handy here too, and it's
Yeah.
really easy to do. So good catch.
I would make a motion to, what's the phrase we're using?
Adoption?
Adopt this.
Recommend
It's-
that the Common Council does adopt this.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would recommend that the Common Council adopt this with Bob Lyons' one addition to the resolution.
Lyons seconds.
Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous.
Lyons moves adjournment.
Second.
Nice.
All in favor, say aye.
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 You guys are so efficient tonight.
Adjourn.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thanks to all. Dave,
Aye.
thanks for stopping by tonight.
Have a
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, I'm glad we
night.
have Dave turned
Take
on.
care, everyone.
See
Have a good
everybody in
night.
a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Well, in a couple of weeks, it'll be a federal holiday, so I'll see you in
Ah.
about a month.
Okay.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you very much, Sean.
Good
Okay.
night.
Good night.